I love lager beers. But you see, there was a problem when I first started brewing. Everything I read and everything I saw out there, it was, hey, lagers are too hard.
Lagers are too hard.
You can't make them as a beginning brewer. You know what? I think they're full of shit. I'm gonna walk you through a lager brew day. And I'm gonna give you a few tips along the way on how I think you can make lagers easier. I should probably do 2 at a time. You can make a lager. It's no big deal. Just go brew. Okay, let's go. Let's get started. First tip, just keep it simple with your lager beers. You don't need anything fancy. My only ingredients are 10 pounds of floor malted Pilsner and then about 4 ounces of acidulated malt just to kind of bring the mash pH down. Don't start out with anything super crazy. Just start out with a smash lager. Now, because I'm using floor malted Pilsner, I am gonna do something a little bit more complicated today. I am gonna try a decoction mash today. So my mash schedule is gonna be a little bit longer. It's gonna take me a little bit more time, but I'm gonna do a single infusion at 154, and then I'm gonna do a 45-minute decoction mash, which is I'm gonna pull a portion of the grains out and boil them for 45 minutes and then add them back into the mash and bring it up to a mash out. Mash is in, I'm gonna recirculate for 45 minutes and then I'm gonna pull out a little bit to start my decoction mash. All right, my mash has been in for about 45 minutes. I am going to start my decoction mash. I'm gonna pull out about 6 quarts and bring it into the house and boil it for 45 minutes over the stove. That's definitely a little bit more work, but I got about 6 quarts of the thickest mash I could get. I had to pull the grain basket up a little bit, was scooping most of the grain out, so I think I did pretty good. Now it's time to bring it into the stove and boil for another 45 minutes while stirring constantly. So this one is definitely more labor intensive. All right, decoction mash is done. Let me tell you, it smells absolutely awesome. And now it's time to add it back to my main mash to help bring up the temperature to that 170-degree mash out mark. Add it in and stir it around. Have I mentioned how much I love my new grain pulley? I got it from Kegland and it's literally just one hand. It's so easy. Check it out. Easy. All right, basket's out. I'm putting my hop spider in, and I'm adding in 2 ounces of Sots as my first wort hop. "10 minutes left in the boil, and I'm going to be adding in a little yeast nutrient, a Whirlfloc tablet, and another 2 ounces of Sots. Going in. So you want to do lagers, but you're like, no, I don't have temperature control, anything like that. You know what? What I have found in my making of lager beers is that you don't necessarily have to have temperature control. I am going to be using Imperial Yeast Urquel, and I'm going to be fermenting it under pressure. Now, when you ferment it under pressure, that means it can ferment a little warmer. I've had great success with lagers and lager yeast under pressure at warmer temperatures. Another thing you could do is you could ferment an ale yeast and just ferment it a little cooler if you have the ability to do that. But my ultimate favorite for a lager beer or a lager-like beer is to use Lutra Kveik, because you can ferment that at basically any temperature from 68 up to almost 100 degrees, and you're gonna get a clean beer. I don't think you should just shy away from doing lager beers because everybody says they're too hard. They're not that hard. There's a couple workarounds for this whole yeast thing, but I'm gonna do Imperial Yeast's Urquel. I'm gonna ferment this one under pressure at room temp in my garage, which right now is about 68 degrees. My 2 more ounces of Czech Sots again. So here we go. Flame is off. Done. And hops are in. It's transfer time. I'm gonna try this new handy dandy sanitary pressure relief valve and see how this works. I've got it set at 0.6 bar, which is, I believe, 10 PSI. All right, I got everything set in the fermenter. It is reading close to 80 degrees in the garage today, but we are expecting it to cool down a little bit. So I think overnight, once it starts fermenting, it will drop. It's saying it's at 76 degrees right now. So after 5 days in the fermenter, I took the gravity reading. First gravity reading was 1.014. Took it again the next day. It was still at 1.014. My expected final gravity for this one was supposed to be 1.013. Figured that was close enough. So I felt it was safe to cold crash this one. So I did add a little bit more CO2 to the tank, put it in my fridge, crashed it down to 32. I'm gonna let it sit there for a little bit, and because I'm using the floating dip tube, I'm kind of hoping I'll have kind of clear beer in like a day or two. So we'll see. Not totally clear yet, but you know what? I don't even care. I did use Biofine in the keg this time. I wanted to try it out, and it is clearing up. This is about 3 days after the Biofine. Still a little homebrew hazy. For a Czech Pilsner, having a little bit of haze is definitely not to style. It does have a nice, persistent, bright white head, and it smells like a Pilsner. And this is absolutely, by far, one of the best lagers I have made to date. Smooth, crisp, refreshing. What other words do you use for a lager? I like the sots that I get in there, but it's not like overly hoppy or overly bitter. This is a great beer. And if you're still here, you should be drinking a beer too. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna give you time. I'll wait. No, I'm not gonna wait for you. Go get yourself a beer. I'm gonna go get another one. I'm done talking. You're probably done listening. You probably left a long time ago. If you're still here, thank you. Cheers to you guys. Let's go watch some baseball. And get another beer.